everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to take you on a little journey into how my mind solves problems, because this month I got a little bit sidetracked. I was gonna make a vest. Instead, I made a vest pattern making program. Let's get started. So let me take you back a couple of weeks ago. Well, maybe I should take you back even further than that. Okay, let me take you back a couple of years ago to this incredible video by Bernadette Banner where she makes this gorgeous vest using the Keystone Jacket and Dress Cutter, which is a awesome little book from 1895 by Mr. Hecklinger. Maybe I'm pronouncing that right. I hope so. It includes very detailed instructions for how to draft wardrobe basics that are quite tailored. And this includes things like, obviously, jackets and dresses, but also vests. Vests. And this was part of her Sherlock Holmes project. I'm going to make sure to link the video down below, because it also detailed part of the reason why I decided this might be a useful tool for other people out here. I shouldn't get ahead of myself. Okay, going back. So I saw this video, I thought it was absolutely gorgeous, and I have long wanted a couple of vests for myself, and I have two main ideas, which I'm not going to go too much into detail at the moment, but just know that there are like two vague vest project ideas floating out here in my brain that may end up happening rather soon-ish. And I decided that I wanted to get started on them. So first things first, I went to the Internet Archive where they have this book freely available, which is awesome. I'll make sure to link the book specifically down below. And I immediately started to run into a few problems. Number one, which is mentioned in Bernadette Banner's videos, sometimes the steps are a little bit out of order. And I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated. I made one mock-up, kind of mixing my measurements and the pattern measurements a little bit, because it was a little bit hard to follow. And it ended up not working perfectly. My dress form is a little bit bigger than I am, but you can kind of see here that it's a bit too small. It's not terrible. It's relatively close, but it's a little bit too small. So I wanted to make another one. But I didn't want to just go through the book again to go through all the steps, because I was experiencing frustration, so I decided to make a spreadsheet. And this worked relatively well. Basically what it did was recalculate the numbers in the steps to whatever measurements I put in, which was very helpful. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll share this with people. And then I was like, I think I could do one better. Maybe I could make it actually draw the pattern. So then I decided I would make things a little bit more complicated for myself and actually make an entire web app to make the pattern for me. Now let's go a little bit into why I went to all this trouble, because you've seen me, I tend to draft a lot of patterns, but I kind of wanted to just maybe make it a little bit simpler, because the steps in the book are a little bit complicated for a variety of reasons. And let's step through those reasons in order from like least annoying to most annoying. So the first one being, some of the labels are used multiple times. Main example being, over here on the top front of the shoulder, there is an E. And then on the bottom side, there is also another point E. And it's a relatively small issue. Like, you can use a bit of logic and looking at the diagram and scratching your head for a minute in order to figure out which E they're talking about. That's not a huge deal. But there were a couple of other problems as well. Number one being, the steps are a little bit out of order sometimes. And Bernadette Banner happened to mention this in her video as well. Point 12 at the bottom of the armhole is not defined until like the next page, and there were a couple of other points that are similar as well, and that's definitely getting into the realm of I kind of want to edit these instructions just a smidgen to at least get the steps into the right order, right? Because like it's a little bit frustrating to say curve the armhole through point 12 and you're like, where on earth is point 12? Well, it's on the next page. Yeah, it's starting to get a bit frustrating. But the next most annoying problem is some of the points are not even defined in this chapter at all. Some of them, like where point 9 on the top is when you're defining the armhole, that is not explained in this chapter. And there were a couple of other points that were similarly absent from the words on these 2 pages. So I went leafing through the book, scrolling through the book, I suppose, and there were some of these points described in earlier chapters. In the very first chapter, well, I guess the second chapter of the book, he describes drafting a basic waist, which ends up looking very similar to this. And I highly recommend reading through the book because it goes into a little bit more detail in these earlier chapters. But if you just want to be able to pick up, okay, here's the pattern I want, here's the steps to make this pattern. If you want to be able to do that, it's not really accessible in this manner. What am I doing over here with my hands? I don't know. So yeah, that was definitely getting into the more, I really want to edit this list of instructions. But the next one makes it even harder. Some of the points are not described at all, not even in the first chapter. Mainly the points on the back, these 15 and 16, I think. Could be 16 and 15, but I think it's 15 and 16. Yes, 15 and 16. They're not described anywhere. In the drafting the waist part of the book, it's a princess seam, and that seam is not even close to where this 15 and 16 thing is. I will try to have the 2 patterns overlaid right here. This one is the waist pattern, and this one is the vest pattern, and if you slap them on top of each other, these things don't line up. And as far as I can tell, these are not described anywhere in the book. I could be wrong. They could be somewhere. If you know where to find these points, please let me know. So I made a thing, and you can check it out by following the link in the description below. I'm going to make sure that it's the first link in the description below so you can find it really easily. So I made a little web app where all you have to do is plug in your measurements, and then it just redraws the pattern for you. Not only that, but it also includes an edited set of steps. Most of these steps are basically directly from the book, but if they were unclear or if I could just reword them a little bit to make them more clear, I did so. I did also reorder the steps a little bit so that any points that were requested were points that were already defined. And I did end up writing a few of these steps for myself just because the steps in the book were not very clear, or because they just were not defined at all, such as points 15 and 16. So for the most part, anything that was in the book is present. Anything that was not in the book, I attempted to provide. And you can try it out yourself. I hope that it works for you. I tried to run it through a bunch of different measurements to see if it would work, and there's obviously still a lot of fixing up that I can do to make the app work a little bit better or to define certain limits. And now I will walk you through the process of me putting in the measurements and printing it out. So let's look at the measures. So whenever you use this, make sure that you go to the original source and look at how they're expecting you to do measurements, because they are not going to be your typical modern method of measuring. The biggest example is the front length, which is actually measured from the bone at the back and then down around to the front. I have all of that information printed out right here.
Taking the measurements is kind of a process, especially since the book expects you to have some specific tools. However, I did my best. The back length and blade measurements are definitely the hardest to take by yourself, but the most unusual are the front length and front of length, which actually start at the back of your neck, then go down the front. The next step is to print out the pattern and tape it together. I just used the snipping tool and print it out, stretched to fit a regular printer page. Next, I measure the tiny pattern, choosing an easy measurement to check, like from point A1 to point G, which is half of your bust measurement. For example, if your bust measurement is 36 inches, this distance should be 18 inches on the full-sized pattern. On the tiny pattern, it might be 6 inches, so you would need to size it up by 300% since 18 divided by 6 is 3. Once you've sized it up, tape together the pieces to create a basic paper toile. This will help you see if the pattern is pretty close before you go to the effort of using fabric to make a true mock-up. It's a quick and easy way to check your work and ensure you're on the right track.
Okay, now obviously paper does not lay the same way fabric does, but this is pretty close. So I think I could have given myself a little more space on the waist, which, I mean, to be fair, I measured at like a 29 this time, but you saw in the corset video I can go down as low as 25, so my waist is all over the place. But this is definitely close enough to work with. So there are a couple of things. While we're here, let's go ahead and talk about some, not necessarily changes I made to the pattern, but like filling in the blanks that were not explained at all. The biggest one being this back dart, which I still have questions about and I don't think is perfect, but it's definitely close. And when I put in the measurements that are the default in the book, it matches up perfectly with the book. So I don't know. The book doesn't explain much other than saying that it is about a half an inch of width and, you know, yada yada. But it doesn't say where the bottom is, it doesn't say where this top point is, it doesn't say anything at all about where 15 and 16 are from, so I kind of just guessed using measurements that were used in the same general region. If you guys know how to make point 15 and 16 work consistently, please put it in the comments because I don't. And so this is my best guess. The darts in the front were pretty clear and I'm quite happy with them. I think that this has got like that really nice 1895 sort of rounded chest sort of look. The bottom of the side seams will probably work better in fabric than it does here. But it does kind of work. But yeah, like that took me, what, 15 minutes to do? And I didn't have to do any math, so, you know, great. There you go. And it worked pretty well. I do think I'm going to modify it a little bit. The pattern that I printed out, I kind of underestimated on my waist and I should have overestimated a little bit, but it's really, really close, so I'm quite happy with it. But I would be very interested to see how it works for you. Obviously, since the curves are not laid out mathematically in the book, I did my best guess. I tried to make it work as well as possible. However, please double check them on yours because, especially if the sizes are different than what he's expecting, the curves will probably need some adjustment. For example, for me down here, I add a little bit of space down here at the bottom. But for the most part, it should in general work. So I am hoping to add a few more designs to this app in the future. Right now it is only this single-breasted keystone vest. At the bottom of the page that I linked down below, you'll see a little form that allows you to ask questions about how to use the app, or to request a design, or to let me know about a bug. Please let me know about any realistic measurement sets that just don't seem to work at all, and I will try to fix it for you and get back to you. And if you have any other designs that you would like me to put on this app, let me know. It does take a bit of time to put it up, so anything I put up is probably going to be related to a project that I'm working on. But I am very happy to hear what designs you'd be interested in me adding. Let me know if you end up actually using this app because I find it quite useful. I think it's a lot easier to just put in my measurements and get the pattern and tape it together than it is to draft it out, especially since I have a relatively small working space. A couple of rules as to what designs I'm willing to put on the app. Number one, they have to be available for free somewhere on the internet from a reliable source so that I'm not stealing money from somebody. For example, the Voice of Fashion patterns, I don't think that they're available anywhere online for free, so I don't want to copy those patterns and make them available. However, I would also be interested in a few challenges, such as taking a pattern like the Voice of Fashion patterns that are not very well drafted, like the main default size probably works just fine, but the scale that they use, there's only one measurement that changes everything, and the human body just doesn't work like that. You might change width-wise but not height-wise, or you might change height-wise but not width-wise, and the human body doesn't work on a single measurement. So I would be interested in trying to translate a pattern like that into a more shape-inclusive version of it. Also something like the Symington corset patterns that are available for free, those are only in one size. So it might be interesting to try to also translate something like that. However, with a challenge like that, just be aware that everything surrounding that, they're going to be completely my assumptions and me trying to figure out how to make the measurements affect it, since they're not technically, drafting instructions. If you're interested in me tackling something like the Symington corset patterns, let me know. I'm also thinking about adding my own patterns, such as the pink corset. I think that would be really cool because it definitely takes some work to get a corset pattern such as this, especially since there's so many different shapes in it, to a different size, that I think it'd be really cool to have it available in a source like this. So let me know if you are interested in that. So sorry there isn't an overly cinematic reveal. It's just an app and a paper toile, so it's not that much to visually show off. But I hope this proves useful for you and you have as much fun playing around with the numbers as I do. So let me know if there's anything you would like me to add. But on a quick side tangent before I sign off, I just want to say thank you so much for all of your support. You have made my last video just completely blow up. It's currently got like 1,400 views, and my previous most viewed video had less than 400. So it's incredible to me to see how much that took off and to see so many people join our little community, and this is so exciting. And on this channel I share various arts and crafts projects that I do. I am always up for a challenge, so if you have a particular type of art or some sort of sewing challenge you'd like to see me tackle, leave it in the comments. I try to reply to as many as I can, and it definitely helps the algorithm know that this is a video that is worth people's time. So any kind of support you show, whether it is by becoming a patron or just by liking and commenting, though, that makes a huge difference. So thank you to everyone for your support. I post new videos on the first Sunday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and I always have a premiere, so if you would like a chance to get to chat with me, I am always in the live chat. So yeah, that's a great way to get in contact and just enjoy a brand new video. And I think that is all the things that I can say at this point. So anyways, thank you all for your support, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.